Welcome to this evening's Craft Along. My name's Barbara Gray from Clarity here in the UK, and I hope that you can hear me. Paul, could you just let me know that the sound is working okay, and then we could crack on. Is anybody there apart from myself? I've done a little bit of prep, and our good friend Francis Knott has just prepared the most wonderful art samples for us to follow. I don't imagine that we'll be able to complete them, but we'll certainly give it a go. So the shack bus is leaving at 7 o'clock on the dot, and I hope that I'm not on my own. Let's let a few more people trickle in, and then we'll get started. It's early days. Hey, here we go. All right, and the sound is all nice and clear. Before we carry on, I always forget to do this. Let me just check the sound, that I'm not shouting. All right, let me just check the sound, that it's not too loud. Yeah, you see, because it's just spiking a little bit. And if now, you see, it's not so loud, because it's easier for you to turn me up than to turn me down. There you go. There, that's better. I should think so. Come on in. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're gonna enjoy this. And I know that I've been looking forward to it all day. So how is everybody? Let's let a few people come in and then we'll get started. Are we in a rush to finish? I'm not. What about you? I reckon we'll probably work for a couple of hours, don't you? Yeah, come on in. Hi, Pat. Good to have your company. And Paul's in the building with you. So if you've got any questions, then he's the person to ask. And yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. Is it 7 o'clock? Nearly, because then we shall begin. What I wanted to do, I tell you what I do want to do, is turn my phone off so that I don't get any calls. Right, there we are. I thought it would be a really good thing today to learn just a couple of tricks on how to stamp on parchment and how to use a groovy plate as a pattern. So it's a little bit of an overlap here, you know, because groovy gives us the white line art and stamps often give us the black line art. And sometimes it's good to kind of mix them up a little bit. So that would be quite interesting to look into, you know. So we'll have a little dabble at that. Now, you may recall that a couple of weeks ago I was on Create and Craft, and we started taking our shack, Stay Happy and Creative, our shack stamps and designs to market. So the things that you and I have created on our shack journey during lockdown and that, we've started now translating them into products and really breathing new life into the shack, which is great. Okay, but you know that the shack itself is it's not a selling platform, you know, and it's free and it comes from a completely different place. But the things that we've designed together in the shack are so beautiful. And so many of you said, oh, make them into stamps, make them into groovy plates. You know, I needed a marketplace, and Create and Craft is perfect for that. And they've always supported the shack and encouraged it. So what better place? So when we were on the telly, I'll just jog your memory, because you'll remember some of these designs. Let me just see. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. If I'm a little bit, I'll settle down. I always get a bit nervous to begin with. How is everybody? Oh, we've got 136 people in the room. Come on in. Last time we were on the telly, do you remember I was showing you first of all, it was our shack stamp, see? Stay Happy and Creative. Because it used to be Safe, Happy and Creative, Stay Home and Craft. And now, you know, we're kind of out of the woods, I hope, with COVID, although it seems to keep spiking, doesn't it? And I just showed you, you know, these are the stamped images. There you go. See? So that was the first one that we did. And then that was the first shack. That was a brand new one. But you will remember when we drew this triptych, right? And then this one, this was really cool. because this was day 5 of lockdown. Do you remember? And we turned this into an exquisite little set, tiny little stamps. Look, and this was a piece of artwork that I did on TV. It wasn't mine though; it was Dee's, and then I just emulated it. But you know, really nice with the doodle dies around the outside. So yeah, so these two were on the show with Holland, and you may remember, if you are shackers, you may remember when we went on our trip to Holland. We had the best time when we did this. Do you remember the little carrot people? So this is a really neat stamp set, and we're going to use this one today. This is what we're going to put through our paces, and you can see, perhaps you can see the designs better on there now. So these are all the stamps stamped out, so you can see that. I'm going to show you how to use those. And then this fabulous button set. Do you remember when we drew the buttons originally? We had such a good time with this particular journey on the shack bus. Remember that? So just bear with me 1 second. That's better. Right. So so this is what we're going to use today. This was the stamp set. And I just want to show you a couple of pieces of artwork from our design team. So you can see this is Jane Telford. Now we can enjoy a little bit of a gallery. Really nice. Debbie McMullin. Lovely. Little carrot people. I remember when we drew those. This is a Sam Crow. Artie Grungy. I can't wait for the open days, do you know? I'm really looking forward to the open days, and every one of these good women, right? So Jane Telford, she's going to be demonstrating. Debbie McMullin, she's going to be helping. Sam Crow, she's going to be demonstrating. Isn't this great? There you go. Andy Duggan, really nice negative art. Love that piece of artwork. I love that you can take these stamps. There's another Debbie McMullin with a little framer. Isn't that pretty? Because they come with masks, you see, so you can overlap them as well. Really ideal. New Home, a Jane Telford to end on. Very pretty, really nice. Look, she just highlighted the house that you just bought. So there you go. So that's the stamps that we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to put them through their paces with you, and I'll show you how to stamp on parchment. Yeah, because there are a couple of little tricks and tips. I've stamped on parchment for many years, way before we started with Groovi and Pergamano, you know, because it just looks really nice. Just use clear parchment. So you're going to need some clear parchment, friends, right? This is just A5 clear parchment. You're going to need some of that today. And if you're stamping on parchment, which is what we're going to do, you're going to need a black archival. I say specifically black archival. It doesn't have to be a brand new one either. If it's drying out a little bit, that's great, because parchment, it takes a little while for it to dry on parchment, and it doesn't spread. That's why I'm saying this one. There are other ones like VersaFine, which are often better for stamping on card, but for this particular job, I honestly do recommend archival because it doesn't bleed. That's the word we're looking for. I'll show you later anyway. But if you do fancy joining in, you need an archival black to stamp on clear parchment. Right, so put that to one side for a minute. Right, Groovi. Let's take a look at the Groovi plates, shall we? Same thing. Let's check it out in Groovi. So we've got our lovely Groovi plate. It's got all the same elements. Got tulips, those lovely houses that we drew. Got your little carrot men. Got the chain as well. We've got our button plate. And then Jazz even designed us a little cute as a button spacer, because that, of course, is what you need to set it in the starter kit. Now, if we're using this tonight, let's have a look. When it comes out. It's really nice little. It's a lovely little frame. Look, you've got so many different options. Little fillers. There's a little button there. Another little button. Loads of buttons on there. Really nice. Let's see if this camera works. See if we can check out this camera. There. See the button designs? Aren't they immaculate? And they stamp up like that too, with the stamps. Just really, really nice. Yeah. So those are the button designs. And this is the plate, just as it comes. So there are your little people. There's your windmill. I remember when we drew the windmill, we had a good time. And this rope border is so cool. You know, whether it's in white or in black or stamped, looks very, very nice. Now let's have a look at some artwork from our classy design team. Josie Davison, I hope that everything's going all right at home. You have been in the wars, girlfriend. I wonder if Josie's here this evening. I can see that Ken is. Welcome, Ken. And Jane Telford, of course. Nice to see you too, Pat and Beth and Helen. Lovely. I'm so glad that you're here. I wonder if Josie's with us. She's been having a time of it, hasn't she? Right, Maggie Byford, look at that beautiful artwork. Very, reminds me of Delft. You know, the Dutch ceramics, isn't that lovely? Dutch porcelain. Yeah, it's got a special flavour. I wonder if that, no, it doesn't. This one does though. Who did this one? Jane Telford again. She's on fire. Look, got a bit of a moving thing going now. Isn't that clever? Hey? Lovely and bright. Tulips from Amsterdam. And here's another one. This is Linda Page. Wonder how Linda's doing. Last time I saw her, she was looking really well. Really well. So here's a lovely piece of artwork by Linda. And here's a lovely one. I know this is Carol Pankstello. Always got really beautiful, bright. What I love about this as well, check out the buttons. Check out the buttons. Let it just focus. Look at the beautiful white work on those couple of the white buttons, the pearly buttons. Doesn't that look sharp? Carol's got a really good way. See the drop shadow? She makes things look 3D. I like doing that too, as you know. So that now is the two different products that we're going to use. And so I'll just pop this to one side because that's what we're going to use. So you're going to need the plate mate. You're going to need your starter kit, really. Your starter kit. And you need an embossing mat. But you've got an embossing mat in the starter kit as well. So no worries there. Let me just put that to one side for a minute. Don't go on the floor. Right, okay. So now let's have a look at the two pieces of artwork that our Francis has prepared for us. Now, we're not going to be able to do this to completion. Really, really, really not, right? But it's cool to look at. Let's have a look. So we've got two pieces here. Now, this one, this is so interesting. This one here is done using the Groovi plate exactly as one uses a Groovi plate, right? So the outline is white, yeah? Got buttons in the corner. It's exactly the same. Look, the layout's the same. Everything's the same. But doesn't it look different? In this one, look, it's black. The white's become black. I really like the difference. Now let's have a look up close and see if we can check it out this way. So now here we're using the Groovi plate exactly, you know, nice composition, lovely composition, right? But you look, the outline is white, right? Now let's move this one out of the way, and you can see now the outline is black. So now what Frances has done is she's used the Groovi plate. It's exactly the same, but she's used the Groovi plate as a pattern. And that's what we want to look into tonight. All right. Also, just out of interest, I had to reach out to Frances and ask her. I said, "How did you get those little black dots on the ends?" Right. Let me see how close I can get here, because they're actually shiny as well. See that they're shiny? I said, "How did you manage that?" And in my head, I thought, that can't be black acrylic paint embossed. Black acrylic paint dots embossed. Wow. Right? That's it's pretty impressive, isn't it? Yeah. I wonder, she must have a really tiny paintbrush to do that. That's all I'm saying. We've got the black acrylic paint if you need it, then, haven't we, Paul? Yes, we have. We've got white acrylic paint and we've got black acrylic paint, little tiny pots. Absolutely perfect. I was using it the other day, trying something out. They're really lovely little things. Let me see if I can find them. Let me see if I've got them here. I was using them with some watercolour, so I know I've got them pent up. There you go. Perfect little pots. Yeah, there you go. Black and white. But this is matte. I love it. I'll tell you what, though. It would work absolutely beautifully for what Francis has just done there. I don't know if I would. I don't know, though. I'd probably use a black Perga colour and just put little dots on the end. But you can see the difference now, can't you? At a glance. So I was thinking, how are we going to do this? Thank you so much, Francis, for giving us something to work towards, right? And I thought, right, I know what we're going to do. We're going to start with the stamps. We're going to park these two, right? We're going to come back to that. The first thing we're going to do is look at the stamps. We'll learn how to stamp onto parchment, okay? I think a lot of my friends in the shack, a lot of my friends here are stampers. So this will be interesting for them, right? Let me just, Linda Williams, she says, easy peasy, dip in paint, then dot, done with an embossing tool. The tiny dots are dip dots. Dip dots, well, I'll be. You never stop learning. So the tiny dots are dip dots, done with an embossing tool. There you go. Easy peasy, dip in paint, and then dot. There you go. So all you need is one of these. Not a paintbrush. I was going to say that'd be a bit. I'm glad the experts are in the bus, on the bus with us. That's good. There you go. Francis used an old embossing tool, dip dot. Thank you. Thank you, experts. I'm glad they're there. Right. See, I'm only the driver. I'm not an expert, but that's okay. I'm good at stamping, though. All right. I'm good at stamping. And we're going to stamp first. So let's have a look. I'll show you what I've done. I didn't have a lot of time today, but I did stamp this out so that I could show you. Right, so we're going to take, see, it's lovely stamped. Let's get up close. I know. Let's get up close. I'm going to come in tight now. Right, see, look, I'm coming upstairs. So that is really nice, right? Okay, and it's on parchment. There you go, it's stamped. All I can tell you is, this is a lot faster. This is like instant art, okay? But there are a couple of little tricks. Also, it's marginally smaller. Let's have a look. If we look at the two side by side, you can see that the stamp is a little bit smaller than the Groovi plate. And, you know, that's with good reason, because when you reduce the detail on a Groovi plate, the lines have to be a certain thickness. And if you go any smaller, you lose it. So this is as small and tight as we could get. Whereas with a stamp, you can go super, super, super tight. Okay. So slightly smaller, nice though. Right, you ready? Let's get started. So what we're going to need, let's have a look. We'll have a look. So that you actually, all you need is a bit of parchment. So get a piece of parchment. There we go. Get a piece of parchment. That's the first thing. Right. Try not to touch it too much with your fingers, because you get fatty marks. You know, it's lanolin, isn't it? Right, so we do that first. Now I don't want to put this somewhere that covers something up. Right, now let's have a look. This is my tester sheet. I had a tester sheet just to check the wetness of the ink. Now I'm going to show you something. Barbara's tricks, right? Months these are, because I do a lot of stamping, friends. Stamping is my middle name, right? I have wet ink pads, drier ink pads. Sometimes if I'm using a really big solid mixed media stamp, I need a wet ink pad. So here we go. March is number 3, April is number 4. You see, so I know that this one is definitely wetter than that one. Yeah, so I'm going to go in number 3 because number 4 bled too much. Check it out. I want to show you, right? Number 4 bled more than number. See how much fatter, like it wasn't because I pressed harder, it's because it was a wetter ink pad. And if you use a VersaFine or Versa Claire, one of those ones, it bleeds. It literally is like little spiders. Okay, so you want a number. If I said you understand, it's a little bit drier. It's not a brand new ink pad. Tell you what I did find, just because these are. This is me selling you something now. Night Sky archival ink pad. These are new ones from Wendy Vecchi, and they just came in. We took delivery of them. I love the colour. See, the colour is perfect for that Delft look. Really, really ideal. So I think we've got a few of these in stock, and I thought I'm going to show you that because it just sits nicely. Also, it's about this is it's good to have a piece just to test your pressure, how hard do you press, etc., etc. Right? And how I'm just going to show you a couple of tricks in it. So now I've mounted the stamps. I've got them mounted. I'm not going to use the blue though. I just want to show you it. I'm using the number 3. So I've got that one there. So I know I've got a bit of copy paper. I've got a bit of, because when you test something, you want to test it on the same surface that you're really working on. There's my posh piece. There's my posh piece. Right. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of copy paper. Just bear with me a minute. Right. I'm going to take a piece of copy paper that's, I'll show you. So this is A5. I'm going to take a piece of copy paper. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to cut it there so that it's not exactly, it's a little bit bigger than A5. And then that now, right, I'm going to set the parchment on it with a piece of low tack tape like that. Okay, so the parchment is sitting on the copy paper. So now it's easier to stamp on white, so I can see what I've got, than on dark. Okay, that's all. So that's my parchment. And now I've got my stamps. Right, I stand to stamp. What about you? Let's have a look. Bit of copy paper. Let's just grab that, scrap there. Right, so I can test my stamps. And then it's just about stamping out. I want to show you a couple of tricks, because when you look, for example, at this has been done by hand, but we're stamping this, and we're going to use the same layout, if you like, as Francis. I went with the same layout. You see, I did this. So what did I do? Did I stamp the windmill first? Did I stamp the buttons first? I stamped the windmill first because I thought I'll start with the windmill because that's going to be the challenge, and then the rest I can just build around it. Okay, so we're going to plop the windmill right in the middle, allowing myself enough room to add a frame. Is that okay? All right, let's have a go. Right, so windmill first. I've mounted the windmill on a 4x4 mega mount. Right, you can see that okay, can't you? Right, and then we're just going to use our our ink pad, our black archival ink pad. There you go, like that. Turn it round. Don't want to press too hard. Should work. Stay in the sort of centre. Don't overthink it. Down we go, and then we'll press. and we'll just press into the center. See, it doesn't soak in like it does in card. So should be all right though, I reckon. Right, just give it a little pressure. You don't want to over ink it, but I reckon that'll be nice. There we are. Isn't that lovely? Perfect. Is that an inky mark? Oh, Barbara. Never mind. Right. So let's have a look at the quality of that and let's see how beautifully that stamped up. It's good enough. Okay. Good enough. Now, the next thing we want to do is stamp. I'm going to stamp the buttons into place. Right. So I've loaded up the button. Look, I've loaded up the button at that end on the mount, and I've put another little button like an anti-wobble device there. So I'm going to stamp the button there and the button there. Now, the thing is, though, I want to make sure that you can eyeball it, right? You can eyeball it, or you can use the mount. If you see what I mean, you can use the mount to center your work. So now if I do that like that, I've got enough, same distance there as there. Then I'll use the edge of the, I'll use the edge of the mount to give me my spacer. It offers me my space. So the first thing I want to do is put this down here. Right, that one there, and then the bit in the middle. All right. So there's a lot of different possibilities here. And there are so many different, there's not only one way to do it. I could put the button in. Let's have a look. Ink up the button, right? And then you're just going to press on the button there, like that. And now we need to do that there. All right, so you ink up the button, making sure you don't ink that button up. The anti-wobble device, right? Load up, that'll do, and then down. Don't press too hard. Button's in place, right? Now we'll put the next button in there, and then we'll join up. So we're going to do that. Make sure we don't ink up again, right? Don't overthink it. There we go. I reckon that's good enough. And then down. That'll do. Now let's imagine, let's just pretend now that we've done this, right? And then we've put the button in the wrong place. Like, or we've squished it. Oh, no, right? And you think, I've done all that, and now I've messed that up. Right, now, this is really something that's worth knowing. Let me just put the lid on this. If this happens, right, there's this stuff. It's rubbing alcohol, okay? And if you take a paper towel, I've got it, I put it in a little, like a squeezy bottle, right? It's the same stuff. Put it on there like that. Why is that so warm? Why is that so warm? Right? I don't know. I don't know. Why is it so warm? Must be the lights in here, right? If I use the rubbing alcohol, right, I can get rid of it. You look. I can completely get rid of my mistake. So I'm not spoiled, because parchment, do you know the price of parchment's gone through the roof, right? Look. So I just wanted to show you. I wonder if that little smear that I've got up there, whether I can get rid of that. What did I say? I love it when it works. Right. Okay. Give it a little moment to dry, clearly, right? But that is a really, really good thing to know. And right, and I bet I do end up using it. If you use a blending pen, right, not necessarily, we're going to use those in a minute as well. But if you use a blending pen with a clean nib, Barbara, clean nib, right, that's a clean nib. These are coming, these we've got available, right? These, we're about a week away now. Oh, I can't wait. We ought to be doing these on pre-order, Paul. I think there's going to be a run on these. So these, we've waited a long time to get these back in stock. But what I'm saying is that this, you can get into the tightest spots with this, and you can you can correct your work beautifully, all right? And we probably will in about 2 minutes time. Now let's have a look. So what I've got to do now, right, I've got those 2 buttons there. And what I'm going to do now, I've got one of my little carrot people here as a as an anti-wobbler, but this time, see, this is great because it's actually a corner, but we want to go from there to there. So what I'm going to do now, can you see all right? Have I got to come in a bit tighter? Let's have a look. That's probably better, is it? Right. So I'm going to come in here now, right? So let's just have a look. You can see I'm just going to use, so I'm counting here. I'm going to go 3 in. There you go. So when I ink this up, I'm only going to ink up that much. Do you see? So I've got, I'm ignoring those ones there. Really, don't overthink this. Don't. It's only a bit of parchment. It's a learning curve. Right, here we go. So now I'm going to pop that down like that and then press. Not too hard, because you don't want that squelchy effect, right? And the other thing is, right, so this is fine. This is where I stopped inking it with good reason, because if it's better to go, it's better to be not enough than too much, because I can take my micron pens, see, I've got my micron pens, I've got my balls, I've got my grey, got all that, right? So you could take your micron pen, your 005, for example, right? They might are getting tired. But let's try it, right? So what you're going to do now is easier for me to just take my micron pen. I think I might need my 00. Let me use my number 1. My number 1 is a bit fatter, right? And then I'm just going to come down. There you go. And no one will ever know. See? So top tip, top tip. Right. So I've done that side like that. And then we're going to do the same along there. And then the same along there. Now, who's crafting along with me? Eh? Gets red hair dye off the Lucy and bathroom door. Oh, good. Ken reckons he could do with an anti-wobble device as well. See, now, next tip, make the artwork come to you. So you've got choices, friends. You can put your buttons down and then join them, right? Or, see, so that's going to go along that way. Do you see what I'm getting at? So it's entirely up to you how you do this, right? So let's say, for example, I want to put the button in. I'm going to put the button in again. Right, here we go. Button in. I'm going to go like that. And I reckon, oh, I don't want to go too far. That'll do. Button. There you go. So then I'm going to join that up. This would be nice. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, perfect. Well, that was a bit of luck. I mean, really, you can put pencil marks out. You can map out your frame beforehand. I mean, you know, I like the challenge. Right, really? Oh, it'll do. There you go. See? But the thing is, and this is the point, let me just get this in. There you go. The thing about this is that we're stamping beautifully on parchment. Yeah, that's the whole point of this. Now, how many of our friends are actually stamping along with me? Come on, who's stamping along with me? Or is it just me? Now I'm going to do this one along here as well, and then we're going to put the tulips in. Tiptoe through the tulip. Is that Tiny Tim? Do you remember him? This is what happens when you're on your own. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Tiptoe through the tulip. I think you're only allowed to sing for 10 seconds and then they cut you off. Oh, stop larking about, Gray. Right, let's have a look. Oh, that'll do. I ought to stand up, really, Gray. Right, that'll do. Right, and then we've got that, and now we're going to bring up the corner. Oh, that's so good. I love it when it works. Right, come on. Let's have a look. There you go. See? So, what are we learning here? Well, first of all, we're learning that archival black is definitely the answer. Secondly, we're learning we don't press too hard. Thirdly, we know that not only does this is the best rubber for permanent solvent-based ink on parchment, but it also removes red hair dye from Lucy. What are you doing with red hair dye over your toilet? And no, I don't sell this. This you can get as cheap as chips on Amazon. No, everybody, you know. And you know, the other thing is that it really is inexpensive. You can buy 3 great big bottles of it. It's great. It's great stuff. Don't drink it though. Don't drink it. Right, now, next thing is we're going for the tulips. Right, so now enter the masks. Are we cool with this? Yeah, come on. We're going to be going for half an hour. See, that's the thing about stamping. It works really quickly. So you can see here what I've got going on here is I've built this little bouquet. See, I did that one, and then I wasn't quite sure. I think I was not feeling the love. I went too far that way. I should have gone a bit further that way. So I changed the angle a bit on this one. Yeah. Right. So let's do this thing. So we've got our tulips. Got them mounted. 3 tulips. And what I'll do is I'll put this one in there first. Yeah, and then I'll cross over like that. So you can make a little scrappy, you can make a little look like a little prototype over here. So you can work it out. That's going to go like that, and then you're going to put the next one there, and you don't press, like, do a bit better than that, Gray. Right, now concentrate. So we're going to pop this one in. So we don't want to get in front of that's going to have to go like that. A little wiggle, that'll do. Right, that's that one done. Right, then I'm going to take the double one, and I'm going to pop that one there, like that. Okay? So if you can always check it there, like that. Hover, and then press. Give a little wiggle. Perfect. Right, so that's what we're trying to do at the base. So this one now, right, like that. Hover with the handle till you're happy, and then in you go. Give a little wiggle and up. Wonderful. Right, that's that. See, so they're the first ones, and then you just build your bouquet. Up you go. Or like Carol's done, you see, you could stamp that, you see, and then you cover up and you add the next one. That's the whole principle of stamping, isn't it? Right, so now, thing is, the ink is probably not dry yet, so we'll just blot it. But I have to say that archival ink, it does dry well. It really does dry well. If we were using a VersaFine, I'm not product bashing, VersaFine's great. Don't give up my day job. Oh, you mean singing, Paul? I thought, shut up, this is my day job. No, I agree. The singing is not my strength. Right, tweezers, masks. Thing is, with that song, you'll be singing it all weekend now. Like, there you go. Wonderful masks come with the stamps. Okay. Does that work? Hold on. That'll do. Right, 1, 2. See, I'm assuming that there's a couple of you that are actually crafting along with me. Am I right in thinking that? Or am I the only goon doing this? See, so I have to work in real time, don't I, friends? Now let's have a look. Where did I go then? Then I put another 2 there, didn't I? Right, okay, that will work. So I've covered that up. So now I can pop another 2 there. Okay, so you build your bouquet. See, I can't fast forward on this because if I do, somebody will go, well, hang on a minute, I haven't finished yet. So I've got to block that one. And then I think I'll add this one here. This is a nice little one. So you've got 3 different ones, haven't you? So let's add that one. What do I think? I think I'll add that one there. A little bit. Yeah, come on. That'll work. And blot. So it's not that hard. You see, you've got to remember all the time, we're just stamping. We didn't treat it. We didn't do anything to the parchment. We're just using straightforward ink, not too much pressure. Un deux, trois. Let's get another one going. I'll use the same one again. Ah, but we need to cover this one up first. You know, it's so easy to do, really, to stamp on parchment. There you go. Let's just get rid of that little bit in the middle there. Okay. Right, so pop that one on there. There, like so. And then we've got a double one. Now, oh no. Okay, well, good news is I've got another one of these. Sorry, I know. The bus driver brought a spare wheel along. There you go. See, so then that one goes on there like that. So it's not taking too long, really, friends. So that now, and probably I want one more, I think. One more. Now, this is where I get my balance. There. Okay. In we go. And all the time, you see, at the back of my mind, I know that if I smear or smudge or it doesn't come out just as I'd like it to, it's not a problem because I've got my rubbing alcohol at the ready. And if it's a little tight and I can't get in, then I've got my blending tool and my blending nib at the ready. Ah, see? So that takes the pressure off. It does. Also, you'll notice that I'm using mounts. I'm not using a stamp positioner. I can't say it won't work. I can't say that. How can I say it won't work? But I think with parchment, you have to, you know, try it. If you use a stamp positioner, try it. And it might be absolutely perfect. My thoughts on this are that you have to kind of, you have to feel the pressure, you know, you have to know. And I sometimes I think that with stamp positioners, you haven't got that sensitivity. But, you know, I'm happy to stand corrected as well. Always, always. Right. Now, next thing. So now we need to cover that one up and then stamp this bit in. I need to stamp that in, see? So I've got to cover it. It's an operation. It's an operation. But I reckon I could probably get away if I take this bottom one. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to take the mickey. I've got so many of these masks. I can't take that one because that's the one at the bottom. Let me take this one. Bear with. Right, take that one. Because they are reusable, as we know. Right, so I'll pop that one there, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to use this, I just need a little tiny bit of it, don't I? What do you think? Yeah. Right, see, it's going to go straight through that flower, isn't it? Sorry about this, guys. I need another mask. It's no good. I need another mask. Can you buy these separately, Paul? Right. We ought to have a mask made of just tulips, in case you want to make a whole bunch. Right, that'll do. Okay, stand up to do this. And I'm going to go right through here because I'm closing up the gap now. Ready? I know what you're thinking. Why can't I make the... No, because you can't, because it's in the wrong corner. Okay. I thought that earlier. Right, now, let's have a look. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to pick all that lot up. And then I'm going to turn this round, though, because that end's neater. There you go. That end's neater than that end. So I'll pop that down like so. Right. And then go like that. Give a little wiggle. Perfect. And then the bottom part, I'll just draw it in because it's not going to be hard. There you go. There we go. And then sorted. That'll do. Right, and there, my friends, that's how you stamp onto parchment. And now we've got that done, right? And that job is done now. And we'll come back to that. We'll come back. Do you like my sign, Shaq? I know, it's cool, isn't it? I know. Dave and Lisa made it, and then I painted it black. Well, a bit grungy. I thought it was really cool. I stuck it on the door. Little things, little things. It's an identity. It's an identity thing. Right, so we don't need them anymore. We've done our job with the stamps. So we'll clear the decks, have a little sip of water, okay, and then we'll start on the groovy. And what we're going to do is leave the stamp one to one side, okay, and then come back to it because that's what we're going to do our colouring on. A windmill in old Amsterdam. How's that go? I can't remember. Sing it to me, Pat. Oh, lovely. Go on, Pat, sing it to me. I can't remember. I'd sing it to you if I knew. Right, so this is all going to be put to one side now. Look, tell me I don't prepare. Honestly. Right, we'll put that to one side. And now we'll start on the groovy stuff. All right. So the first thing we need for groovy, right? I'll give you a couple of minutes to clear the decks because I'm sure that a couple of you will be running on both tracks the same as I am, won't you? So you need another bit of parchment now. Okay. Another piece of parchment. And now we're going to learn, well, again, I'm sure there are loads of different ways of doing this. I just figured out this way, okay? So we got our plates, you need your buttons. We're going to look at that beautiful piece of artwork, right? So we need our buttons. We need parchment. We need a frame. We definitely need a frame for this one. We need a thingamajig, tumble dryer sheet. Got my bits here. Right. All right. I'm on it. We need plate mate. Yeah. We need a plate mate. Although we're going to use the buttons first, so I need the spacer, and I need the button. the button one. I'm going to turn it round so it's at the front, not the back. Let me tell you what I mean. It's smooth. Normally, we say you have to turn it this way around because we're going to emboss it. Actually, I tell you what, just for the hell of it, just in case somebody's watching thinking, what is she talking about, right? What you're going to do is, right, hang on a minute. Rewind, rewind, rewind. Normally, when you use a groovy plate, this is how it works, okay? You take your groovy plate, you make sure you can read groovy in the corner, right? Or, there you go. Because you're working from the back, so you can read groovy wherever. Even if you're writing anything, you write it backwards. You use a tumble dry sheet, you do this, let's just do this so that anybody watching you doesn't know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'm going to be using a groovy plate in a completely different way to what we've ever done before. So now, for example, I'll take my number 1 tool from the starter kit, and I can get in the groove. Oh, I need to just use a bit more tumble dry to get a bit more slick, see? And I get in the groove, and I can emboss the work, and it becomes white because I'm stretching the parchment. I'm just doing a really simple example of the white work, right? Cute as a button. Because we work from behind, we write backwards as well. So it's quite nice when something is already actually written out for you. So you don't have to worry about. Now I'm going to suggest something else now, because I realize as I'm doing this, let me just explain something. As I'm doing this, because of the way I've laid it out, I haven't thought this through, right? So if I take this again, right, because at the moment, as it is, I'm leaning on the edge of the groovy plate mate. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put that to there, right, because it doesn't make sense what I'm doing here. If I bring this down like that, right, I'm going to get a crease here. If I turn it round this way now, right, you watch. So I'm up here now. Now I've still got a bit of an option. I've still got a crease of thing here, see? So the idea is that you turn it around until if I do this, now, look. So if it slots back in, I've used the same starter plate mate, groovy plate mate, but the parchment now is not hanging over any edges. So you can see by thinking it through before I start, now I don't have to worry about creasing my parchment. I'm just showing you an example now. You know, for somebody starting out, that's worth knowing, because otherwise you crease your parchment. Another thing well worth investing in as well is a groovy guard, because that way you're not leaning on your artwork, you're leaning on a groovy guard. You can isolate the area. So now, for example, I'm using my number 1 tool, and I can just slowly just go in, take your time, but you can see now I'm not leaning on my artwork. I'm not leaning over the edge of the groovy plate, so I'm not going to crease my. This is all, you know, you pick this stuff up as you go along, really. It's not science, it's just logical, you know. You just got to think it through before you start. There you go. Make it nice and crisp. This would be nice. Now, let's have a look. So this is white work, as we know it. Cute as a button, right? And that is, in essence, that is how a groovy plate works, okay? So just to recap, you work on the back, and then when you turn it over, so for example, on the starter kit, the whole alphabet is back to front, so that when you flip it, you can write backwards, right? You write backwards to write forwards. There you go. Excuse me. So this is the essence of a groovy plate. Now, what I want to do now is start by giving myself a frame. I want to give myself a frame. When I was stamping, I just eyeballed it, you know, because I'm a stamper, so I can, you know, and I was using the edge of the parchment to give myself an outline. Now I'm not so confident. So now I'm going to give myself a frame and I'm going to work within the frame, okay? I'm following Francis's instructions here. So what I want to do now is take another plate to create a frame with another plate. So most of us have got this one. This is our extension plate, our square extender. You got that one at home? And what we'll do is what we're going to do is use another piece of parchment. I'll show you what I've already done and then we'll do it again, right? Keeping it simple. So I've got a bit of A4 parchment, A5 parchment, right? And I'm going to use the line. So you've got 3 tight together and then the one outside. And I'm using the next one out to line up the parchment. Got it? Should we do that? Oh, I know. I saw a mouse when they're on the stand. When the stand. Right there. Right, we need a little bit of thank you. I remember it now. Okay, I need a bit of parchment to show you. Okay. Let's do the traditional way first, so that you see where we're headed. Right, so I'm going to use that line there to align. I'm working with the person in mind that just got the starter kit and is thinking, how does this all work, right? Remember I said, if you can read groovy, you're on the right side. This is for the white work now. Right, let's just get this done. Right, so I've got groovy tab up there, groovy tab down here. Don't go over the line that you're going to use, because that's a challenge, right? Should have done this before I started, but that's okay. Let's just get that. Try not to smear over if you smear over the actual groovy plate, then your groovy tabs won't stick anymore. I only know that because I kept doing it. Right, ready? We'll do that. Okay, that'll do. Right, now this is where your groovy guard comes into its own. So we want a really nice crisp line. So we're going to hold, so you hold the parchment down and then off you go. And then you go in there like that. If you want it super crisp, you go back again. You go down, see? And because of this, you turn it. And then you hold it in place. And then you go again. See, it's a piece of cake. It really is a piece of cake. And there is even a groovy plate mate it's a split one, and it fits around this, so you don't ever have to. That'll work. There you go. Double lines. And that, my friends, that's all I need now to give myself that border. Now, if I look at where we're headed, right, I also need some kind of guide here to do this. So I think I could probably use a ruler to give myself a guide, but having an outer edge like this is certainly going to help me. Okay, so I've done that, and so have you, I hope. So that's going to be the front, and that's the back. Piece of cake. Right, so we've done that bit. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to pop the buttons in. So let me just show you. These are things that I was practicing on, right? But what we're going to do now is pop the buttons in, and so on and so on. But I think we know how to use a groovy plate the traditional way now, don't we? You work from the back, and then you build up your composition. So what I want to do now is flip the plate over and use it like a pattern. Okay, so without wanting to confuse you too much, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I take this plate, if I wanted to go down this route now where it's white, then I would use the plates so that I can read groovy in the top and it's scratching, right? But I want to use it as a pattern. I want to trace it out and I want to use the elements so that I can draw, right? It's harder, I think, but it's worth knowing how to do it. So let's have a look, because we all love this black effect, don't we? We love this black line art. It's like a stamped image, except we've used the plate. So we've got that. And now let's start with the button. So again, I'm going to put the button to the top away from myself, because where I'm going to put the button in now, here, say, right, I want to make sure on that side, right, so it's smooth now. I'm going to put the thing in there as well, right? And then the button, if it's going to sit, I'm going to sit it there. Let me just check that I'm in about the right place. Yes, I am. Right, so we'll pop it there, right? And then we'll set it down. Right. I think that's in a good place. And then we're just going to attach it so it doesn't move while I'm working. Right, so I'll take my Groovi tab and then we're just going to add that so it's in place. I'm going to lean on this because my hands are going to get, I'm going to have my scrap. Remember, I've got a bit to practice on. Look, here was the bit that I was practicing on before. Right, so now let's have a look, see what we've got. We need to do this, we need our micron pens. Have you got your micron pens handy? Hey? Do you know what I mean by micron pen? These are invaluable for I've got plenty, right? These are absolutely invaluable for anybody in the shack doodling. This is the button that we're after. I'm going to use my micron pen. I'm going to use the number 01. Okay, that's it. And I'm working on the front. I'm working on the front of the parchment. And I know it's the front because it's raised. Okay, there you go. That's another good reason to use a raised frame, because it tells you where you are. Right, now, this is probably the most difficult thing of the whole project. But let's just get it done. Let's get it out of the way. Right, button. And now what we're going to do is literally trace the image behind. Okay, I'm going quiet now. Personally, I think the button is the most difficult thing to draw because it's a circle. Circles are never easy. So if I go quiet now, it's because I'm on the button and I'm trying to make a circle. And now I'm going to make another circle. At this point, I'm not even looking at the plate underneath. I'm just trying to get a circle done. So, all right, it looks a bit ropey, but you wait, you won't see it. Right, and now we're going to go around because this is the pattern I'm using. Just go around and draw what you've got going on. Take your time. The button's the hardest piece. It's a shame you've got to start with the difficult bit, but you wait. It will look so good when it's done. And actually, I love you, Frances. I had a really close look at Frances's buttons, and I thought, yeah, they look about as ropey as mine. And she's really brilliant. But the thing is, circles are always difficult to draw. There you go. So this is going to be our button now. There you go. Every other one and then every other one. So let's have a look. See, once you actually do it. Look, it looks beautiful once it's finished. No, hers are brilliant. But you get what I'm saying now. So what, while we're here, right, we can cover up, we can colour in that black every other one. Okay, let's just do the button. We won't do the whole thing, but we can certainly learn how to do elements. So we've done the button and we've coloured in. So when you start to colour in and you put the white work to it, you'll see it starts to improve immensely. This is one of those jobs where you can honestly say, it ain't over until it's over, right? So now we've got the button done in that corner. And that button we will do in there, there, and there, of course. And my suggestion would be that we would put the buttons in all three corners before we add the rope, yeah? Now, personally, I think it's 8 o'clock. I don't want to do that. It's the same thing 3 times. Clearly, you get where I'm coming from here, don't you? Yeah. I think it's more important to tell you, right, that with these pens, that you really don't have to press hard. That if you press hard, you kind of splay the nib. So the trick is just to drag. You literally drag, yeah, very lightly across the surface. So let's just say we've done the buttons. I would rather jump to another job and show you another little trick, because we haven't got to the shading or the colouring, right? But we've done the button. That's the start. Repeat in 3 corners. Okay, put that to one side. Smooth. Right, take that out. Now replace. And what we're going to do now is use the big, but again, smooth side, smooth side. So this is, if you like, this is the front of the plate, and this is the front of the parchment. So that means that when you look at Frances's work, right, she's done the same thing. She's working on the front of the parchment with the ink. So when she goes to do the white work, when she flips over, because we do all the colouring, we do pretty much all the shading and all the colouring from the back, right? We don't touch the black liner. We don't touch the black liner. So that means that when we go to emboss on the back, it doesn't affect the black liner. We haven't touched it. When we put if we were to use this side, we would lose the black on this side. You'll see what I mean. It's easier to show you than to try and say that out loud. Right, let's try the rope, right? The rope is just so fun to do. So let's just take the rope, right? And let's just start it right down here, okay? So we're on the same side, we're on the front again. How long does it take for the micron pens to dry on the parchment? It's, I'd say 10 minutes, Pat, tops. It's they're quite fast drying. Let's have a look. If I take a bit of copy paper, yeah, it's dry. It's dry. I mean, I wouldn't run my finger through it. I wouldn't, just to make a point. Right. So now this is cool. This is really cool to do. 01. And what we're going to do now is we're going to draw the chain. So it goes like that. Look. And then you go in again. You see? There we are. Round we go. Okay. It's quite therapeutic, this one. And if it's not perfect, you're going to do so much shading. Don't give it a second thought. See? And you just keep going and going. Isn't it lovely? This is so easy to do, this one. Right. So there's your chain. Yeah, your rope, if you like. And you can just keep going and going. And you can make it big. You've got a lovely white line to go to. So you can make it, look, I'm making it fatter now. I can change it. I can go to the outside of the white line. Do you see? I can go to the outside of the white line, or I can go to the inside of the white line. This is just a tester. Obviously, I've gone far further than I should have because I'm going to put a button there, but I'm not interested in doing that. I'm just interested in showing you how to get this shape, right? Because we're going to do some colouring and embossing. Right, so then we've got that. So let's leave that one for the minute because we're going to do some shading on that one. Then the next thing I want to do is let's look at the, I want to look at the tulips, and I want to look also at the windmill because I think that's worth doing. So when we look at the tulips, let's have a look here, and you'll see that they're built up of individual tulips. You'll see these are all individual tulips. And so what I've done here, I've numbered them. I numbered them here, and I numbered them on the plate as well. So this is the number 1, and this is the number 2. Just take a Sharpie pen and write 1 and 2. Okay? And then what you'll see is, as I go to do this, this is the F for front, and you'll see the number 1, right? There it is. Number 1, number 1, number 2. You see? So I've got the number 1 there, then the number 1 there, and then I've jumped to the number 2 for that one. Then the number 2 there, the number 1, and the number 1. So you just build your, it's all about where the leaves are, you see, so you know, you're building it up, right? Quite straightforward. Let's just do it. Let's just do it, and let's just see how we get on, right? So again, we're going to start with the bottom, and we're going to build up, okay? We're going to start with these ones. We'll start with that one. We'll start building up, just like we did with the stamps. Okay, so we'll start. We need the number 2. The number 2, because the leaf is this way. See? So you understand what I'm doing here, don't you? So now you see you can move it around so you've got the right angle. See, I want that to look like that. So make sure that it stays down while I'm doing this. I do recommend this, okay? Right, now these are so nice to do, watch. So here we go. And I'm just going to trace. Right. Try not to stop midstream, mid-flow. So you can stop, you can pause there and then go round. Like that. And we've got a leaf. So really, it's like you're drawing your own design. There you go. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? What do you think? I love it. I mean, I don't know whether I'm doing it right, but it worked. Look, it definitely worked. All I'm trying to do is use the smooth side so I don't stretch the parchment when I'm working. Now I'm going to go to, what do I need now? I've done the number 2, so now I need the number 1. Oh, hello. So now I'm going to use the number 1. Let me take that off there. So I'll move it round until I'm happy with the position, right? I reckon that will look good there, right? So they're not touching. You could, couldn't you? You could do it like that, and then they overlap, and then you just make sure it sits behind. But we'll do, in fact, no, I'm going to make it a bit bigger at the bottom. So there you go. So I've done that. Right, so this is the number, the other flower. It's got more leaves, you see. So we'll, again, and this one's got 2 petals at the front, like that. There we go. Are we in close enough to do this? I think you can see quite well what I'm doing, can't you? There we are. Turn it round. And then we'll put the leaf in. I'm sure as well, right, that a light wave would help, but I specifically avoided using one tonight because I thought a lot of people haven't got one. So let's not say, oh, right, we can only do it if you use a light one. I think I can see perfectly well. I can see perfectly well. I really can. Okay. So you can see how this is working. If I want to use, this is the thing, you see, you know, like with stamps, if you use stamps, you have to mask them off and then stamp, you know, like we were doing before with the tulips. It became a bit of an issue. I didn't have enough masks, see. Now with the Groovi plate, even though it may take a little longer, but you know, hello, with the Groovi plate, you just use the bits you want, right? So say, for example, now I'm going to use the same flower again, the number 1 flower here, right? But, oh, hello, this is, let me take that off, right? But, let me see, I want to sit it like that, so the tulip is behind. There you go, so we'll just set that down. So now I can see what I'm doing. It's exactly the same as if I were using a number 1 tool. See, and even if I go a little bit off piece, it doesn't matter, it still looks like a tulip. Right? There we go. It's like using a number 1 tool, except you just avoid the bit. You see, I'm not going to worry about that. That's plenty. Look, isn't that pretty? See? And then if I take a piece of, let me just take a piece of card or a little bit of white paper and then pop that underneath so you can see what I'm doing. Ta-da! Isn't that cool? Do you get it now? And so, and in the same way, I'm just mindful of the time. And now I can move up and I can put, right, which one do I want to put? So I like the leaf on that side, right? So I'm going to put the next one there. It's really that easy, right? So, or I can maybe bring it over a little bit more like that. Do you see? Maybe bring it in like that. There you go. Cover it up. Once you get into the swing of it and you get your, it's like getting your flow or your rhythm with a pen, right? It's actually really easy and enjoyable. So you're working, and I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to say it. You're working on the front of the parchment and you're working on the front of the plate. And so what you're going to end up with is exactly the same as if you were doing white work on the back. There you go. And so on and so on and so on. You understand, right? So now you know how to stagger or to layer things as well. You know how to, right, so that's that. Now let's have a look at the windmill, because you look at the windmill and you think, how's that ever going to work? Easy, right? So let's just pop the windmill in now. This is, again, don't get me wrong, under normal circumstances, I put in the button, the button, the button, right? Join, join, join. No, not join. Join this one and this one. And then these two, I put the flowers in and then join them up to make sure that I don't go, otherwise how am I going to do that? This is like the replacement button, isn't it? But now we're looking at the windmill. Let's just put the windmill in. Let's just stick the windmill in so we can see. And we can always put the carrot people in as well. Now, we need a bit more stability, I think, for this one. Right, I want to show you. These are my findings. This is what I spent this afternoon figuring out, you know. So now, for this one, honestly, I used a ruler. I think we used a ruler when we drew it the first time round. So there's no reason why we wouldn't use a ruler now. So let's go up to the top and you can see, I did some and some so you can see. So these are obviously done with a ruler, right? Let's have a look at this actually. Let's indulge this for a minute because you can see. So, oh, hang on. So I've done this with a ruler, the outline. Now, when I turn it over, what you'll see is this was coloured in, this one was coloured in, and this one was embossed. So I did this with an embossing tool to make it whiter. And this was done with a white pencil. Turn it over again, and you'll see that the embossing tool is certainly brighter, isn't it? Now, at this point, we probably need a bit of black card to show. Right, now you can see. So this is a lot whiter, having been embossed, than this. Do you see? It's choices, isn't it? It's choices. But look how cool that is when you white emboss it. So that's what we want to get to in a minute. But first of all, let's just, humour me, let's just sort out the ruler, right? And so what we're going to do is just get the paddles done first. So that's on that side. That's on that side. Might as well, if you go, oh, I should have gone all the way in. Yeah, good question, Pat, about drying. And also, a bit of tissue paper just to clean in case you drag the ink, right? But it's so much easier and for a steady hand to do this, right? Than that's it. Do one at a time, Barbara. There we are. So you can see once you put the main lines in, what I found, right? Actually, I should be probably doing the center line as well while I'm at it. It's easier. That's it. So once you've got your center line in and I felt that it's starting to look a little bit too computer generated because I'm using a ruler, right? But you'll see in a minute, as you keep going round, it's all right. Just slowly does it. And you just build up your windmill, the actual, what are these called? These called paddles. Oh, miss. Trying to go too fast. That's it. So you can make these darker if you like. Watch. If I go slower and thicker, see, I can make it darker if I choose to. It's up to me. I can make it darker by going back and forth, I should think. Let's have a look. I do that and then go back on myself. Probably blacker. Yep. So you've got lots of, you've got lots of scope here. Now, as far as this goes, I'm going to start going by hand now, though, so that it doesn't look quite so. So I've done the most tricky bit. So that's quite hard to get that straight a line by hand, So why fight it? Right, and then in the middle, there's that, and then the it's nice. And now I felt that these were best introduced like this. Sails. Dave's just sent me a text saying they're called sails. Dave the farmer knew, of course he did. Paddles. Can you erase any mistakes with the Micron pen with the rubbing solution? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I tried it earlier. You have to rub a little bit harder. Oh, there you go. There. So that's how you get your sails into place, you see? There you go. And if you want to, of course you can use a ruler Absolutely you can. But I think this gives it that just a little bit more hand-drawn organic feel. And I'm sure that we can all stretch a line that long. There you go. So that's that, right? And then so then here, let's have a look. We've got other things going on. Right. And round we go. And round we go. And this is where if you had a light wave, you'd be able to see much more easily what all this is. Okay, you really would. But that's all right, because all you got to do is do that, hold this in place and have a little look. All right, okay, I see what I'm supposed to do now. So now this is a little fence, right? And the little fence has got posts. So that's what these little things are. These are posts. So take your time. Well, they seem to be quite tight, these posts. Yeah, they are. They are quite tight. Oh, okay. Cool. And then, see, if you look, you can see, yeah, all right, I get it. There's this safety rail so you don't throw yourself out the windmill. See? So you've got that going on as well. You're just tracing the picture. There you go. And then you've got the ground through there. These micron pens are dynamite. There you go. And you could make a ground. Look, there you go. So you can bring it in and you can take it around the back of the... Lovely. Right, now let's have a look on the inside. What's going on here? What have we got? We've got windows and doors. Yes, we do. And also, this goes like that. So that's starting to look good. There's a window. There's a window. And I bet that's a door. Yup. See? Double door. Boom. And when you put a piece of paper underneath it, that's pretty good, isn't it? And you can see at a glance, you've missed the top bit here. You see? So that's all right. That's a good checker. Take that away. Now, where's the top of the windmill bit gone then? Ah, just that bit there. That's it. Sorted. Now, with the lines in the windmill, I've got a feeling I put a little bit in there as well. Right. But you see now, with the lines in the windmill, let me show you what I did on mine when I was experimenting this afternoon. See the lines here? I didn't use this. I used a very sharp black pencil on the front. I felt it looked a little bit more organic, let's say. But I think, right, from a tracing point of view, I think we've worked out lots of things here. You know, we've worked out how to do long straight lengths. We've worked out how to stagger art. We know that we work from the front and not the back. We know it's the front because we put a frame in at the back. So this is raised, so we know it's at the front. And if all else failed and you didn't have a frame like that, then you just put a little F here, and then you know that it's the front when you're working, right? So that wasn't so bad. Are you enjoying this? I know it's a lot to take in, but you know, the next thing is what brings it to life. I would like to have another look now. Let's have a little sip of water. Okay. And then we'll have a little look at these lovely pieces of artwork by Francis. And then we'll we'll take a look at the white work and the shading, because that's what makes it really pop. Now, whether you're using the white, you know, the traditional groovy line art, or the black, shading is pretty much similar, and the embossing is also. So let's take a look, and then you'll see what I mean. Now, if we look at this one, the black, right, you can see how it's in reverse. We've made, so what we've got here is the little fence posts. You can see they're white, but over here, they're black. So from behind, Francis has used a little black pen or a very sharp black pencil to create a contrast. And here, of course, we can emboss. If I run my finger over it, it's raised. Yeah, it's pretty cool, this is. So let's have a look at this. Now, what happened to my stamped image? Because that would be really nice. Let's have a look now, because this is all embossed. Let's see what happens when we use an embossed image to do a stamped image, sorry. Let's start from the top to take our masks off. Okay. So we can take our masks off. And where am I? All right, just for now, I'm going to put them on there. Just obviously I can use these masks again, but I need to peel them off carefully because they're quite delicate. But you can see that we're getting a really good layered effect. What's the next one? All right, the big one. Okay. So the thing about this as well is what you realize is you've got choices, 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 you know. Whether you stamp on parchment, whether you trace the image onto the parchment, right? The result's the same, isn't it? You've got black line art here. Let's have a look. So now we've got, we'll take all this away from a minute. And if we take a look at this, so this is the stamped one, and this is the traced one. Right, let me take the blank paper behind that. So you can see that it's headed in exactly the same direction, isn't it? Yeah. This is how this will look in about 2 hours' time. This is what this is, right? Now let's have a look. First thing we're going to do, and there's no hard and fast rule to this. You can do the colouring and the shading first and then the white work, or you can do the white work first and then the colouring and shading. I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to get the white work going now, right? So to do that, I need a soft mat. I can use the pink one, I can use the black one. It's whatever, right? Whichever one works for you. I'm going to use the pink one because I'm going into some really tight areas, and I want to show you not only, let's have a look. So now this is the front. Remember I said when we stamped on this, the front stays pristine, and when we do our embossing and that, we work on the back. You know that we do. So any black that I'm going to do, I'm going to turn over, you know, like even this, if I want to put the, see my dots on this one are a lot smaller, right? So if I want to colour in, I should probably do this, I'm hardly touching this, right? But this would be on the front, do you see? Because then it's proper black. When I turn it over, now I'm going to get little black dots all over my pink mat. On this side, I need my ball tools now to do my white work. Am I making any sense here? I am in my head. Now let's have a look. So I've got my embossing tools, right? And so let's say, for example, let's just start with the button because it's pure white work. If I take my number 4 ball tool, right? Maybe my number 3 even, and I want to emboss these white these white dots, every other one, right? So I make a little cross, make a little circle, make a little cross, make a little circle. So when I turn this over, see, my black line art, have a look. It's difficult. Yeah, you can see it. There. See? My black line art stays completely true. So I can use the stamped image in exactly the same way, right, as I would this image. So this is on the front now, remember, with the line. So I turn this over. If I do this, so this button's a little bit different because I made the bits in between, the little bobbles in between, black. When I turn it over, look at that, right? So you can imagine that you can get a really brilliant result very quickly, right? So you do a little cross like that, so you don't get a donut in the middle, cross, and round you go. There you go. Look. How nice does that look? And in the same way, it's no different. It's exactly the same thing, right? Just looks a bit different. Only because the design's a bit different. So now let's have a look. What else can I show you? Right, so we've done that. That looks so cool, doesn't it? There. So first thing's done. Whether you draw it or you stamp it, same sketch. Right, so that's that. Now we can decide. I've got to finish this now. A bit of project completion going on in my head here. Right, there you go. Which tool am I using? The number 3. There we are. And then the black stuff, I could do that at the end, or I could, you know, whichever I prefer. Now let's have a look at the chain. Let's look at the chain. So here, again, when I feel this, I can feel that it's lightly embossed. You see how it really looks like rope. So we've got some white where the light would hit, and then we've got some dark where the shadow would be. So what we're doing here is we're highlighting and low lighting, and we're putting the highlights in now where the light's going to hit, and then we're going to put the low lights in and the shadows with pencils afterwards. So it's quite straightforward. If we take a look, and we can try both because we've got both going on here. Again, we're working from behind when we do white work, whether it's stamped or not, right? So now the light part, we're just going to add a little bit of light in that corner. There you go. Just add a little bit of light in that corner. Let me see. I think number 4 might be too big. Yeah, it is. So a little bit of light in that corner. Yeah. Probably actually be better to work away from myself on this one. There. So you just add a little bit of light. Bearing in mind as well, the thing about the stamp is, of course, it's always going to be perfect and always the same. Right, so we've got some white in there. While that's resting, let's do the white in this one. So again, I'm going to put the white opposite the shady bit, right? So just put a bit of white there, right there, white, white. So when I turn it over, the black is very forgiving. It doesn't, you don't lose the black on the front, even if you go over the line. That's the thing. So when I put some colour behind it, you can see how the white is going to start coming through now. There we go. Just a little bit of white. I'm pressing a bit harder than I would normally, but I just want to show it to you. There. It's just coming through. So you're going to put the highlights in first, right? And then when you've done the highlights, then you go back in with the grey and do that afterwards. So let's have a look. Highlights, 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 highlights. Oh, look, there you go. It's coming in now. See? So that's quite nice, isn't it? I like that look. Right, so now the next thing is, let's have a look. Go back to this one. And so we've done the highlights, and we're going to add more white to this, see, because we still got to introduce the low lights. So that's the next thing we want to do. But I think we ought to put some, let's put some light on these tulips first. Let's do some white work on the tulips. So again, we can use this or we can use this. I'm going to stick with a stamped image, right? And this time I need a bigger ball tool, really. I'm going to go with a 4.5 or a 6. These are big ball tools. And I just want to add a little bit of white to the tips. Okay? And this is going to be, you really do want to see, because the ink's on this side, remember? So, you know, you sure could still use the Groovi Guard, but I don't have to worry about smearing any. There's no way I'm going to smear any ink. So I just add a little bit of whiteness to this, right? Just the first layer, gently does it. If we put a bit of black behind, you might see better what I'm doing. Yeah, you can see it. It's a gradual process. You know that, right? But it's got to be done. So we're going to put the white, just get the white layers going first before we, yeah, let's just keep going with the white. Right, so we're just going to add a little bit of white in the tips, like that. Now, some people prefer to pull down, right? And some people prefer to push. So it's a push or a pull. Do you just get some of those? So once you stretch the parchment from the back, the grey work won't come through. The grey will only go where you haven't stretched. There we go. You see me doing it? Yeah, you can see this, can't you? So the trick, though, top tip, is to do all the white work first. Okay, so when you can always go back to the white work. I don't mean that. I mean, don't just do one tulip through to completion and then do the next tulip through to completion. If there's a temptation to do that because you want to get a beautiful result, but the thing is to get uniformity. You really want to do all of them to the same degree and then go back and do all of them to the same degree again, or use the same ball tool so you get the same result. You see? Otherwise, you may use a different ball tool. One will be brighter than the other. You may use a different grey pencil. One will be darker than the other, and so it goes on. So always good to do all of them at the same time, so that you get that uniform shading. So they're all obviously in the same vase. Okay. Just gently does it. And I know that I'm going quite fast here, but it's because I'm aware that it's 8:45 already. Like I said, this is more of tips and tricks. This is me trying to give you a few pointers. You know, what's interesting though for me is that we're using the stamped one. We're using the stamped image, but it's exactly the same principle. Always working from behind. If I want to use the traced image, I'm doing the white work from the back exactly as I would before, right? I'm using the same ball tools. I'm doing all the same things. There's absolutely no difference. And I think it's worth pointing that out, you know, because if you haven't got a steady hand, if you've got a steady hand and I mean, that's the whole point of groovy, isn't it? That you can get in the groove and you get those beautiful lines. Traditional parchers, they traced, right, with a white pencil or a black, whatever. This is very traditional parching, what we're doing here. The effect is fantastic. Now, but if you can't get that lovely line art and you struggle with it, then there's always a stamp option. If you want black on parchment, that's what I'm saying to you. You know, you don't have to eliminate yourself from this kind of artwork. Just get the stamps. It's that easy. Because once you've got the line art, whether it's stamped or it's hand drawn, the applications then, the white work, the shading, see, it's all the same. It's all the same. Just got the black line art, haven't you? Now, let's hop on. We know how the white work works. White works. Right. Let's hop on now to the shading. Let's talk about the shading, and then that way, I will have covered everything. I will have covered everything on these cards. Okay. Let's have a look. And on my blog tonight, barbaragrayblog.com, I did show you 2 photographs, so you can always go back and look at these again and again and again. barbaragrayblog.com. You can blow them up, you can print them off, you can take a look at them. Okay, you can study them. You can take a screen grab. Okay. Beautiful, Francis. Right. Now, let's have a look at this one. Because now we've still got plenty of white work to do there. But before we crack on, let's have a look at some of these pencils. So we're going to start with the lightest pencil, which is what we got here. Not warm grey. Warm grey. We're going to go with all the colds. So we've got cold grey. I think I've got cold grey 3 somewhere. Put that one. Have a look. That looks like a cold grey 3. Yeah. Cold grey 3 or cold grey 2. All the different. So you start with the lightest one and then you just start building up the depth. Okay. Till you get to black. We do packs of these, don't we, Paul? Like grey pencils. So what you're going to do now is add your grey, and we'll do exactly the same thing. Now let's have a look. We need that, but I tell you what else we're going to use. This is really cool. We're going to use a blending nib. We're going to use a blending nib to smooth out the colour as we're going along. Okay. Now, can we actually? Let's see. Can we see better? No. I'm going to do it on the black. Let's just move these out of the way. Right. And we're just going to add a layer of the light grey. Working on the back again, always on the back. Okay. So we're just going to put a layer of light grey in there first. There we go. And then when we've done the grey, then we'll go back in. Just put a bit of grey down. So you can't see what you're doing. There you go. That's much better on white. Right, so we're going to pop that grey in there. This is on the back. Okay. Now, when I turn it over, you see, it's very muted, isn't it? So let's go back again. We'll just add a little layer of grey. So let's just add a little layer of grey, the lightest colour first. And as I said before, you're going to go through all your tulips, let's say, at the same time, because you want the same sequence of pencil going through. So light feathery strokes. I like colouring in, and I particularly like grey, like monochrome. I love monochrome, don't you? Right. So now, for example, I can take my blending pen and I can smooth out. You see where I thought that line was a bit savage? Right, now I can smooth that out. There you go. So you smooth that out with a blending pen. I told you we're going to have a run on these. Right. So let's just say like that. I'm sure you can see that quite well, can't you? Let's have a look, for example, now at the rope. Let's try the rope as well. See if we can get that effect. You know, that depth in one. It needs a bit. Yeah, here we go. See? So now we've got the light on one side and the dark on the other. Let's see what happens when we turn it over and look on the front. Oh, yeah. So you see now light meets dark, and I can go in more with the white and diffuse the dark. It will go on and on. But let's have a look at these. Let's have a look what we've got going on here. So I've done the light one. Let's go to the next colour. So now I'm going into cold grey 4. So let's take cold grey 4 and let's add a little bit more depth in this area. So it's like 3/4 of the way, now half of the way. So let's add a bit of depth now in here. Always working from behind again. Right? So we smooth it out. Right, we're going to start adding a little bit more contrast now. Right, here we go. See, so you put your colours in where you want the shadow now. Don't press too hard. You're not pressing hard. It's not about hardness. It's about layers. That's what this is. The game is layers, not pressure. Okay. You know that I could press hard now and get a really dark effect, but it's not what I want. I want to get depth. And you can only get that with layers. Exactly the same as white work, except we're using pencils instead. And again, if I smooth out these layers, right, you'll see. Just smooth them out gently. And the thing is, when you're doing this, it's like you think nothing's happening. Well, it is. Look, you've got to look at the contrast. But at the time, you think when you're doing this, of course, it's going to take forever. But it doesn't. It suddenly just goes boom. It really does do that. And I remember when we did this at the retreat with Linda last year. It was just spectacular the way suddenly the artwork just went from being very flat to this beautiful monochrome. Everybody got a fantastic result on this. So now I've used it. So then now we're looking at the next pencil. I've sharpened it a little bit because it gives me a bit more. So I'm making sure that I'm on the back still. You see, as soon as I cut, if I know if it's raised, I'm on the front. So I'm staying on the back. And now I'm going to add a little bit more depth again. I'm using that same pencil again. But this time I'm adding a little bit more, another layer, not pressure, okay? But because it's a sharper pencil, I can get into these gaps. So now I can get in darker on these bits. Have a look. Just a little triangle of depth there makes the white stand out more. Let's have a look. See? And as I'm doing this, you see, in a minute, I could take my pink mat again. Right, here we go. So now I'm on the back. Right, and I'll go in with my number 2 tool now. Let's just say, right here. And I'm going to come in again. And I'm going to add another little bit of whiteness there. Have a look. Because I think that will have been long enough now. See? So when I bring this round now, you can see how it's starting to work, can't you? It really does. It's quite something when it goes, right? And then, oh, I tell you what I want to show you. This is so, watch this ping, right? Watch this ping. So we'll take that again. Woo. Right. Now, if I see these little fence posts here, I'm going to take my number 1 because that's as sharp as it needs to go. And I'm just going to, as if I was colouring it in. See, I couldn't get into this with a white pencil. It would be impossible. I'm on the back, yeah, and I'm colouring in those little tiny posts. I wonder if you can see this. Right. There, you turn it over. It's amazing how tight you can get with that, you know. Let's say that center ring, I want that to be white. See how tight you can go? I think it's amazing. I really do. Look how bright that is now. So all I've got to do now is start tying the highlights and the lowlights. I've just got to keep bringing in the highlights and the lowlights. And you go from, with the embossing tools, you go from a larger ball tool down to a smaller and a smaller and a smaller until you can literally use your stylus to get that detail. Or you go from a light grey, then you bring in a little bit of a darker grey, and then a darker grey and a darker grey. And that's how, honestly, that's how this depth is built up. Look, see it? That's exactly how it's done. Look. And then the flowers, right? See the black on there? That's the only bit that you go to the front. So once you've done all your grey, grey to grey to dark grey to darker grey to darkest grey. That was my pen that just went, right? Once you've done your greys, and you always on the back and more always on the back. So I've done that grey. Let's go to an even darker grey now. And you'll see, again, very important not to press too hard. And this is a point where now we could start to even add, let's call it veins, right? So we're going to get a bit of white up the side. I've got another trick for you as well. Let's just say I want to get, look, I'll show you something that, like here. Now you see this white line here, right? So you can do that by not putting any colour there, right? By not putting any grey there. But let's say, for example, I've come up here now and I've added too much grey, I feel, right? And I didn't give myself that line. I mean, you can see how easy it is to go too close to the edge. Do you see? Right? And I've gone right up into the white as well. And I'm thinking, oh, I've made a right old Horlicks of this, right? Enter your pink eraser, right? Let's just see what we got. God, that's a bit of a funny looking. Hang on a minute. Right, pink eraser. That'll do. And if you want, because you're on the back, the marvellous thing about this is if you've done too much, look, you just take it out again. You don't like it, you lose it. Look. So you don't have to think, oh, I've overcooked it. If you didn't want to put all that grey there, let me show you something. I can take it right back to nothing. Look. That, my friends, I think is worth knowing. Because it means if you feel you've done something wrong, because the ink is on this side, you can't spoil it, you see. You won't fade it, you won't get rid of it, but the polychromos and the pergoliners, if you don't like what you've done, then you just take it back and you go again. And then if you do like what you've done, right, then at this point, let's just say this last little bit here, if I were to turn that over now, once I've considered that it's as good as I want it to be. I don't want it to be any darker than that, right? Having said that, I can always go back and go again. It's really not a problem. You take a super, super fine, super sharp black pencil, right? And this is where you can put your veins in now, if you want to. And that's when it really starts to jump. And if you look at what, see the blackness here, this is all done on the front. This bit here is done on the front, okay? So for example, now, this is all, and that's when it starts to really come to life. And then on the back, if you feel you want to put a bit more colour in, you go to another dark grey and you just keep adding more depth to that colour. And if you don't like it, guess what? Yeah, you take it out again. There you go. And then the blending pens, they smooth it out beautifully. And the other thing that I'll finish on this note as well, because you'll see how you can see how this is so achievable, how we're getting there just by adding. I tell you what, we haven't really covered, but I really like to, is the veins. You know, the depth, because if you add on this side, if you just add a couple of lines like this, right? On this side, it looks a bit weird, right? Let's just do this. I'll show you. Because you see these veins and you think, well, how does she get that lovely vein work in there? Right, well, if you bring them in on the back, like that, or on the back, let's do a couple on the back of this one as well, where the black is, right? You do that. Now, let's have a look on the front what it looks like. Ah, so now you see how you can create the depth in the petals. Linda Williams and I'll tell you another one who's really good at that is Gail Sydenham. Really good, right? And also, obviously, well, most of the design team actually are masters of this. And then you just smooth it out a little bit, add a bit of white, add a bit of dark, and you can see how you're building this up now, yeah? So it's literally, I remember when we did it at the retreat, we flipped over, then we flipped back, we just went back and forth until we were just blown away by what we ended up with. And when you mount it on black, or now let's have a look. There's one more trick I want to show you, but this is just a proper finishing trick. If you put that on there, right, you add that on there, it looks quite dark on black, doesn't it? But if you put another layer of parchment underneath, let me just show you this. So parchment, this is sort of translucency, it diffuses it. So when you do that, it lightens it up really well. So if I show you with something that I've done a bit more on, let's have a look, more on. Right, take this one for example, right? So I've done the white work in there and I've done the colouring in there and I've done, you know, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But if I take another layer of parchment and I bring this in under there, see, you look at the house now, look at the windmill, right? So it's quite dark against black. Against white, it's pretty, let's have a look against white. Not bad. Against black, it pops more, but it's a little bit somber. As soon as you diffuse it, it changes it. It lightens it up. So that's worth noting. If you ever mount your work, I can tell you that behind this piece, either there's a piece of parchment to diffuse it, or, yeah, I'd put money on that. There's got to be a piece of parchment on there to diffuse that, because this is darker than that, okay? So I would say that that's what's happened. I don't imagine that we've used colour. We might have doused some colour on there. No, it's black behind there and it's diffused there. 100%. Sorry, I've got to have a little look now. Yeah. There's a piece of parchment behind that to lighten it up. So that, my friends, is how to create a beautiful monochrome image. And I hope that these little tricks and tips help you. I think, you know what? The more you do, the better you get. And the better you get, the more you want to do. In the words of Elizabeth, that was our quote of the day on my blog today. And I think you'll agree with me that it's worth pursuing. Whether you use the Groovi plates as a pattern, whether you stamp your image, once you've got that black line art in place, what a result. And to know that you've got these get outs, this takes all the pressure out. You've got erasers to take out the grey work. You've got rubbing alcohol. Don't drink it, don't inhale it and all that. Work in a well-ventilated room, etc. Right? But definitely use that to correct any black work that you're not happy with. And once you know those things, I think it just takes the heat and the pressure off. This is such a lovely way to go, and it won't take you long once you get into it. When you look at the artwork that we've already achieved this evening, I think it's very, very doable. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I really did, actually, and and I want to thank Paul for giving up his Friday evening to help us again. And I shall see you on Monday in the shack at 10 o'clock. And we're going to crack on. Now, what was it we were doing? Those vases. Oh, yes. Now, that'll be nice. Do you know what? That'd look amazing on parchment. Are we doing it on parchment? I think we are. Anyway, lots of love. Take care. And have a smashing weekend. Thank you so much for joining me and Paul. And make something, do something, just stay with your hands, be creative. Lots of love. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.